Alrighty, welcome back, fellas. I felt like instigating some chaos today, so right now we're gonna go ahead and debate who is the better 10th anniversary fusion, Agl Super Gogeta or Teq Super Vegito. There's gonna be probably a lot of chaos in the comments down below, but hopefully you guys will enjoy the vid. If you do, you already know what to do. Of course, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, comment down below your thoughts. Let me know which fusion do you think is the better unit in the game right now. Let's go ahead and get started. So we have a couple of tabs pulled up here to make things easier for myself and for you guys to just see how we're progressing through this. But right now what I want to do is to try to keep things as unbiased as possible, because I already have my biases. I know which character I like more, but I want to just compare the characters kit to kit, back and forth, seeing what they offer and what they don't offer compared to the other counterpart fusions. So we'll try to keep things fair in that sort of regard. Let's start off with the leader skills, right? Because the leader skills, it just never changes with these units once you have the leader skill out. So for the Super Gogeta leads successors, fused fighters, or pure Saiyans with his category Ki +3, HP 200%, and attack and defense plus 170%, plus the extra 50% to those stats for characters who belong in Gifted Warriors or Fusion categories. So we see the leader skill right there. For Super Vegito, Vegito has the same kind of stat boost, but basically he is leading Earth Protecting Heroes, fused fighters, or pure Saiyans, and then the extra 50% for Earthbred fighters or Patara categories. So first of all, let's just talk about the two new categories, right? Obviously, with the 10th anniversary, we have two new categories, Earth Protecting Heroes and Successors. So I have the two categories pulled up here, as you can see. When we look at the two categories, I've said it, I think, in previous vids, I am a firm believer that, back and forth, the Earth Protecting Heroes category is a better category than the Successors category. Now, when we look at Successors, you see it has an interesting set of characters who fit the mold. So Vegeta is a part of this, Beerus is a part of this, Demon King Piccolo, Piccolo in general is a part of this, right? Orange Piccolo. We see characters like Zamasu is there, Golden Frieza, of course, full power Frieza, so characters like them are a part of this. If you go down here, we see some of the Super Dragon Ball Hero, or not Super Dragon Ball Heroes or whatever it's called, but like the Dragon Ball Heroes kind of characters, right? Like there. We have Toppo, we have Champa, so we have all those sorts of characters, Rose, King Vegeta, various kinds of characters like them, even Dabura, for example. So this category has an interesting combination of characters, because you have this combination of good guys, if you will, like Vegeta and Piccolo, and also bad guys, like, or you could argue Beerus. I guess it's like in between good or bad guy, but like you have Beerus, you have Frieza, you have Zamasu. So that's what makes this category kind of interesting, is it brings some very interesting comps together, especially right now with the 10th anniversary. You have like EZAs, like for example, like the Agl Full Power Frieza. They can come under the Agl Super Gogeta lead because of Successors. So that's actually pretty cool. For Earth Protecting Heroes, though, the reason why I say this category is better is because this just has a much better roster, in my opinion, when it comes to overall hype and better designed characters, if we think about it in general sense, right? Because we look at this category, you see, for example, Super Saiyan 2, the 10th anniversary Gohan right there, who is a fantastic character, by the way. You see GT Goku, you see, for example, Carnival Gohan, Beast Gohan, who is still really good in a lot of content right now. You see other characters going down here, like Kaioken Goku, right? You see, of course, the 7th anniversary fusions, who, to be fair, they're covered in other parts of the lead, but still they're a part of this as well. So you have a bunch of things like this, and obviously, I mean, the biggest thing is the hybrid Saiyan characters, like the Trunkses and the Gohans. Those characters being a part of this category, even like Hercule right here, that is what makes this category, in my opinion, a bit better, is because we all know Gohan gets a lot of love in the game. I mean, if we think about it, for the past year, you could argue, Gohan, like any form of Gohan, has been somewhere in the top level of the game for one way or another. It started with Beast Gohan for a lot of the game, then it came into like other characters like the LR Gohan and Piccolo to a degree. You had Demonic Power, which boosted all of the Gohan, so there's various things like that that kept Gohan relevant, and they love to make sure Gohan is good for good reasons. So for me, I just think this category specifically is a better category than the Successors. I like what Successors can offer in terms of like adding characters like Frieza and everything, because that's unique. But at the same time, I think our Protecting Heroes is going to be a better category in comparison. I think it offers better characters, and I think it overall just allows for better linking and opportunities in that sort of regard. So when it comes to that specifically, I will say Super Vegito has a bit of an edge compared to Super Gogeta. So I'll give the edge there to Super Vegito. When we talk about the extra kind of boost, right, the extra, I guess, like 220% to stats for attack and defense, right, it's 250 for HP. That is where things can get interesting. So we have the 200% leader skills built in right here. I set them up for the Super Gogeta right here and the Super Vegito. So this is going to show all the characters who fit into the full leader skill, not just the extra base level right here, but also the extra categories as well. So we see with Super Vegito, because of the Earth Protecting Heroes and everything, right, with the Earthbred fighters, you see, Gohan is a part of the full leader skill. Beast Gohan is a part of the full leader skill. Carnival Gohan, Teq Y, various kind of characters like them. Zamasu, actually, ironically, is a part of this because of fused fighters, of course. MUI Goku, Int Nama Goku, the Super Vegito, all sorts of characters fit into this. GT Goku, Gotenks, all those characters, right? When we look at the Gogeta lead, though, right, for the extra 200% here, what's kind of interesting here is you see characters like Demon King Piccolo is a part of it, Go Frieza's there, Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta's there, Gotenks, all these fusions, right? Also, what you see is characters like Great Ape Vegeta. full power Frieza, because they are gifted warriors. So that is actually something that's kind of cool right there. And also the 7th year fusions right there. I mean, obviously this is recorded after the 7th anniversary fusions got their EZAs announced. I already broke down those kits, so check them out if you guys didn't see the vid. But, you know, with these two characters, both of them are going to be very strong characters. I'm seeing a lot of people already say that both of them are top 4, top 5 characters bare minimum. And especially when it comes to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, I've seen a lot of people say that this guy may be number 1 in the game, or at least tied for number 1 with the 10th anniversary fusion. So that should say a lot. And the fact of the matter is that, you know what, yes, Earth Protecting Heroes is a better category because it includes characters like Gohans and everything. But as far as the extra percentage boost is concerned, being able to give an extra kind of stat boost to characters like these 7th year fusions, that in and of itself can be very powerful. You're seeing Teq Vegeta be a part of it, so I think there is a good debate about which overall leader skill is better. Obviously, the category thing with Successors versus Earth Protecting Heroes, I think that part is clear in favor of Earth Protecting Heroes, but the overall lead, I think, is like a back and forth, like a nip and tuck kind of thing, because I mean, especially now with 7th anniversary fusions, with their EZAs being as good at this as they are, that makes it even more incentivized for you as a player, probably, and myself even, to take Gogeta with the lead, because you're still giving that full lead boost for, you know, the Super Vegito. You still have great characters like Gotenks, Great Ape Vegeta, Full Power Frieza, you know, the 7th year fusions, all those sorts of characters. So I mean, honestly, it's going to be an interesting kind of debate back and forth, but I think both leader skills are pretty good. I will still say, though, in a general sense, I probably will give the edge to the Teq Super Vegito. But, you know, regardless, I think both leader skills are still really strong, right? At the end of the day, you know, both these characters are still top-level characters. They're fighting for number 1, so that should say a lot. But I think I like the leader skill for Vegito more. Alright, now let's look at the Goku part of this unit, right, and the Vegeta part of the Super Gogeta unit, right? So the first part of each of those units, right? So the good thing about these units is they're kind of like carbon copy designs of each other for the most part, so it's easy to kind of compare and contrast the two. But when we look at the super attack effects for Goku, raises attack and greatly raises attack for the 12 and 18 key respectively, greatly raises defense for 1 turn on both of the super attacks, and then causes colossal damage to the enemy here, and causes mega colossal damage to the 18 key. So off-rip, when we compare that to Vegeta, it is literally the same thing. So there is no difference right there. So both are pretty much on the same foot there. Now the passive skill is going to be a bit different. So we have Gogeta right here. So with Vegeta right here, right, the base Vegeta, Ki plus 5, attack and defense plus 200%. So a bit of a boost right there to Ki. Additional Ki plus 3 per rainbow keys are obtained, giving the Ki and support for successors or fusion allies, of course. For the first 3 turns, defense plus 300%, guards all attacks guaranteed regardless of where he is in the turn. When attacking, boosting the attack percentage and the defensive percentage again. When attacking with 10 or more Ki, attacks are effective against all types. With 20 or more Ki, an additional guaranteed super will be released. As the second or third slot unit, guards all attacks guaranteed, so this is even beyond the intro right here. And then also launches additional, has a great chance to become a super again. And then from the 4th turn from start of battle, so turn 4, you can exchange into Goku. So a very kind of straightforward kind of kit right there. When we compare that to, for example, the Goku unit right here, there is a bit of a difference, as you will see. So first of all, no Ki plus 5 right here. So the Ki is a bit lacking per se when it comes to this part of the basic effect. However, it is easier for Goku to get a lot more Ki per type keys for obtained. So you want to get Tech Orbs for him. That can make him get a lot of Ki. He's still giving support, the same kind of support for Potara and Earth Protecting Hero category allies. So there is something of a bit of interesting thing there. For 3 turns from the character's entry, he has 50% damage reduction to start. When attacking, attack plus 200% damage reduction rate increases by 20% again. And then when attacking with 10 or more Ki, attacks are effective against all types. 20 or more Ki launches additional guaranteed super as the second or third slot unit. An additional 20% to damage reduction, and launches additional. There's a great chance to become a super. And turn 4, you can exchange into Vegeta. So a lot of the things are basically the same. I mean, when we look at these two characters, they have the same basic effect stat boost right there. They're still providing the same type of support for their special kind of categories, right? So that's pretty much the same. They still have the same kind of conceptual design where basically they're meant to work in slot 2, slot 3. They have the same kind of boost when attacking with 10 or more Ki or 20 or more Ki, so that part is the same there. They both actually have the same amount of attacking boost right there. For Vegeta right here, he just boosts himself in terms of defense, whereas for Goku, he's boosting his damage reduction, so that's a bit of a difference right there. And then also, I mean, when it comes to the Goku unit, as you can tell, he doesn't have any sort of guard, no dodging or nothing. He just has the damage reduction, and the damage reduction actually is pretty good because for those first few turns, you're talking about 50% plus the extra 20 to maybe even 40% in slot 2 or slot 3, which is where you want to put them. That could give Goku up to 90% damage reduction in slot 2 or slot 3. For Vegeta, what he can do is he can guard all attacks regardless of where he is, and then also, I mean, on top of that, you know, he still has the guard, which this part being like the same thing is kind of like okay. But, you know, at the same time, it's like, if he had something on top of that, that would be better. And then, I mean, honestly, other than that, it's pretty much just like defensive stats and just him doing super. So that's what I'll say right there. When it comes to these two characters, I've used these characters a lot. I'm sure a lot of people have used these characters so often, and I've gotten to see how these characters can perform in slot 1, slot 2, and slot 3. And the fact of the matter is that both of these characters are not designed for slot 1. Teq Goku and Agl Vegeta, they are not meant for slot 1 value, especially for taking attacks that come before their supers. Now Goku, once he does his attacks and everything, he will get an extra 20%, that'll give him 70% damage reduction, but even for a character with 50% damage reduction, as you guys all well know, 50% damage reduction is not necessarily enough nowadays to tank supers, to sometimes even tank normals. So in slot 1, Goku is not that great of a character in my opinion. If anything, I will say, I actually prefer the Agl Vegeta in slot 1 compared to Goku. And I realize again, both of these characters are not meant for slot 1. Really, if you're putting either of them in slot 1 and you're not forced to do so, you're kind of in like, you're either in a bad position where all the rotation is bad, or you're locked with them in slot 1. So it's one or the other. But, you know, neither of them you want in slot 1, but I prefer Vegeta personally, just because I think the guard and also his defensive stats just allow him to tank a smidge better than the Teq Goku. So that's what I'll say there. But when it comes to who they are in slot 2 and slot 3, especially for those first few turns, give me Teq Goku. Because Teq Goku in slot 2 and slot 3, I think he can just do overall much better in terms of tanking, in terms of what he can do there. I think that is much better for him than it is for Vegeta. Vegeta, it seems like he is the character though where, you know, you would probably be a bit better off keeping Vegeta in his form compared to Teq Goku. I know a lot of people will say, once you get past this turn 4 restriction, everything for the exchange, right away exchange into Vegeta and don't look back. Because more often than not, even once, you know, Goku is in slot 2 and slot 3, once he loses this 50% damage reduction, he's down to 40%, right, in total, and that is still not enough. And honestly, I mean, yeah, at that point you want to go into Vegeta. For the Vegeta unit though, I will say with the guard and everything, you know, he can still pretty much handle himself pretty well. So I'll give credit where credit is due right there. Plus the extra 100% boost defense, that helps a lot as well with his extra kind of basic effects. So there's a bit of a back and forth there. I think I would like Teq Goku in his specific slot 2 and slot 3 for like the first few turns. After the first 3 turns, give me Vegeta personally, but I think I'll give Teq Goku that edge in that sort of regard. So we'll go ahead right there. Now we can go ahead into the other side, right? So Goku for the Agl kind of unit right here, and for here we'll go to Teq Vegeta. So obviously these two are like the opposites of their respective units, right? So like Vegeta is the opposite of Teq Goku, Goku right here is the opposite of Agl Vegeta, but their designs are still kind of similar to each other, right? So for Goku right here, raising defense, greatly raising defense right here, greatly raising attack for the 12 and 18 key for 1 turn, causes colossal damage, mega colossal damage right down here. For Vegeta, we see that Vegeta is able to raise defense, greatly raise attack for 1 turn around the 12 and 18 key, and the same type of damage effects for the 12 and 18 key supers. So again, similar kind of design to each other, makes it really easy to kind of compare these characters, I would say. But now let's look at the passive skills, right? Because the passive skills is important. So, I mean, both of them can do the exchange right away with their counterparts again. For Vegeta right here, we'll start with Vegeta now. Attack and defense plus 200% flat out, 50% damage reduction rate in general, plus additional key plus 2 per type keys are obtained, giving attack boost now for his specific allies. When attacking, boosting the attack by 100%. When receiving an attack with 10 or more key, boosting the damage reduction by 20%. So that's in general, could be anywhere. So that's 70% damage reduction. When attacking with 20 or more key, launches a digital guaranteed super, right? And then as the first slot unit, guards all attacks and launches additional. There's a great chance to become a super for more stacking. So that's what Vegeta can do. When we look at what Goku can do, Goku will get a key plus 5 and attack and defense plus 200%. Additional key plus 3 per rainbow key sphere obtained, giving the attack boost for successors or fusion allies. When attacking, attack plus 100%. Launches an additional, has a great chance to become a super off rip. When receiving an attack, regardless of the amount of key, defense plus 200%. When receiving attack with 10 or more key, boosting the dodge chance by 10%. And then when attacking with 20 or more key, launches additional guaranteed super. As the first slot unit, guards all attacks guaranteed and has a great chance to evade enemies' attacks. So that's a 70% chance to dodge, which on top of this makes it an 80% chance in total in slot 1. So, you know, these two characters are very interesting because both of them have a lot of good value. And honestly, I would say this is probably where you can see the differences kind of show between the two characters. With the Agl Vegeta and the Teq Goku, they were kind of similar to each other in terms of their value and what they could or could not do. I think now you kind of see the differences between the two characters, because when it comes to Vegeta, the thing I actually like about this character is that most of his value doesn't necessarily have to come in slot 1. In fact, he has 70% damage reduction when he takes an attack with 10 or more keys, so the first hit will be 50%, but after the attack, then he will get 70% damage reduction for the rest of the attacks he's facing. So that is actually a very good thing about him. You see, of course, you know, he has the same kind of attack boost as the Agl Goku right here. Goku does have a difference, though, where it would seem that, you know, he just has the basic kind of launching additional attack right here with a great chance to become a super, and then the additional super right there. For Vegeta, he doesn't have this kind of built-in right here. He does have that great chance right here for the first slot unit. So this kind of forces Vegeta, if you will, in a sense, to be slot 1 because you want that additional super maybe for the stacking, but he still has the additional guaranteed super here. He's boosting his damage reduction, which is pretty good, I would say, and I mean, all things considered, I mean, he's still a very powerful unit. So you can't go wrong with him. What I will say though is that, you know, boosting his damage reduction rate versus boosting his defense, that's the interesting thing about these two characters. And also what's also interesting on top of that is that Goku is boosting his defense in general when receiving an attack, and then he's also boosting his dodge chance on top of that when receiving an attack with 10 or more ki. For Vegeta, he's not boosting anything for himself when receiving an attack regardless, right? He's only boosting his damage reduction rate with 10 or more ki. So the damage reduction rate is really good, but not having that extra kind of boost as Goku does, I think that's something that gives Goku a bit of an edge in my opinion. And also, I will say, I am a bigger fan, I think, of Goku than Vegeta because, you know, for a character like Vegeta who is meant to tank, who can do a lot of tanking with the damage reduction and the guard, I've seen Teq Vegeta take so much damage, not just in the first turn he shows up, but I'm talking about 2 or 3 turns after he does his stacking. I still see him take a good amount of damage, and you know, it's frustrating, especially in slot 2 or slot 3, if this character's locked there, he will not have the guard, and then, you know, that is where things become really problematic, because then he just takes so much damage, and it makes you wonder, like, why did I bother stacking you if you can't tank at that point? And I'm not saying that to hate on Vegeta, or like, I'm not saying that to hate on him, but that's just what happens to me a lot of the times, and it is very frustrating. For Goku, I will say, you know, he is in a similar kind of boat where I would say even more so than Vegeta, if this character is in slot 2 or slot 3, do not stay with Goku. Go into Vegeta and just stick with like the Agl Vegeta side of this unit, because you'll still have the guard and everything, but if you're stuck in slot 1, this Goku I think is better than Teq Vegeta, because, I mean, 70% chance, up to 80% chance to dodge, that is insane. The defensive boost is insane. Guarding all attacks just in case you don't dodge is really good. So I think this character is actually really awesome, and also boosting the defensive stats is very helpful when you're already boosting your defense to begin with your super attack effects. So I think in that sort of regard, I prefer Agl Goku over Teq Vegeta. But again, I think all of these parts of the units are kind of they're kind of nip and tuck with each other. There's always a back and forth. I just like Agl Goku more than Teq Vegeta, just like how I like, you know, Teq Goku over the Agl Vegeta. So far, you know, Teq Goku beats Agl Vegeta for me. Teq Vegeta loses to Agl Goku for me, and we're still not done. We still have a few more things to talk about, including, you know, the failed fusions, because this is an important thing. So the failed fusions, both of these characters, right, they have a good successful fusion active skill and a failed fusion active skill, in case you guys have not been aware of that, which everyone should be aware of it. But with Agl Goku, so his active skill, right, for the failed fusion allows for you to transform into Veku, which already off-rip, you know, any Veku fans, you know, they're going to be so happy about that. But with the Veku fusion, right, which is the failed fusion, you do ultimate damage to the enemy, so that's damage right there. Also, you're delaying a single targeted enemy's attack for 1 turn, so basically this is a Ghost Usher, and then you're evading an enemy's attack for 3 turns guaranteed. So this can be done right away, you know, once you get the exchange available. And then for Vegeta, to kind of compare the two, right? Vegeta with his active, he breaks the Potara earrings. He gets Ki +3, attack and defense plus 18%, you know, for the rest of the fight, and also guards all attacks in battle. So this, by the way, I've double checked this. This actually kind of boost also affects the Teq Goku side of this unit as well. So that's actually a pretty nice thing right there. But, you know, I will say, you know, I've said it on Twitter, I've said it to my friend groups, I have really not found a single moment where I want to use the failed fusion for Vegeta. I have, however, found plenty of opportunities where I'm like, you know what, let me go ahead and use the Veku failed fusion for this unit and sacrifice the Gogeta fusion. And that's not to say that the Gogeta fusion is bad or anything, that I'm like, you know what, it doesn't matter to me. What I mean to say with this is that Veku, with what he can do with his failed fusion, it is actually a very versatile and very valuable thing to offer, because think about this, right? With the Teq Vegeta kind of failed fusion, right? He's boosting his stats and boosting his ability to guard all attacks in battle. With Veku, what Veku is doing is he's boosting their ability to dodge for 3 turns, so that's helping them. That's doing damage to the enemy, and also it's protecting all of your allies for 1 turn, because you have a Ghost Usher. There are so many times where I'll see, you know, someone locked in slot 1, like for example, maybe it's just like the 10th anniversary Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, or various kind of characters, and I'm like, they can't tank this. I know they can't handle what's coming their way, but let me go ahead and activate this Usher. Now they're safe, and now we can go into another turn and live to fight another day. So for me, I think everyone is pretty much on the same page here, that Veku with the failed fusion is, I don't know if I want, actually I'm going to say it, I think it clears the Teq Vegeta failed fusion. I think it clears that. I think there's a clear gap between the two failed fusions, because the guard is good and everything, the stat boost is great and everything for long fights, but let's be honest, not too many fights are that long. And actually, I mean, you think about some of the hardest content in the game right now, Formidable Foes has to be up there, right? And those are not long fights at all. And so for those fights, Veku is even more valuable, because you're just trying to get out of there and everything. Veku will help you out when you need it the most. So yeah, I think Veku is the better part of the two, like, failed fusions. But let me know, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. Let me know if you guys find any reason to ever use the Potara breaking, because I know some people do it, but you know, for me, I just don't see it. I just haven't found a reason that really justifies the value of this compared to going into Super Vegito. So that's what I'll say right there. Now, though, we can go ahead and talk about Super Vegito and, of course, you know, Super Gogeta. So, actually, I don't know why I went back to the Goku unit. I should have just gone straight into Super Gogeta. But, you know, obviously, both Super Vegito and Super Gogeta can be activated for 4 turns, right? You know, going into, like, the Vegeta unit right here, you can fuse from Vegeta into Super Gogeta. And for Super Vegito, you can do it from Goku. So that'll be for 4 turns. Both can be done from turn 5, so that's a very easy kind of condition to meet. And obviously, you know, once you go into these 2 fusions, you're talking about using some of the best characters in the game, bar none. So, I mean, that's just crazy right there. But when we look at these 2 characters, right, so first of all, looking at the super attack effects, both only have an 18 key super. For Super Vegito, he's greatly raising attack and defense for 1 turn, causing mega colossal damage to the enemy. For Gogeta, he's massively raising attack and defense for 1 turn, causing mega colossal damage to the enemy. So, off rip, we see a difference between the 2. Super Vegito not boosting his stats as highly as Gogeta with his super attack effects. So that seems like already a favor for Gogeta, but understand we're just getting started. We still have a lot more to talk about with these characters because we still have a whole passive skill for both of these guys. Also, I didn't even realize, but both of them just have their name and then Fighter of High Morale, which is kind of interesting that both have the same kind of passive skill basically as far as the name is concerned. But let's just keep going. So both of them can fully recover HP, so a free Sensu Beam right there, that's fantastic. For Gogeta, right, Ki plus 5 and attack and defense plus 300%. For Vegito, attack and defense plus 300% in general. For Vegito, he's receiving an additional Ki plus 3 per type keys for obtained. For Gogeta, we go back to him, receives an additional Ki plus 4 per rainbow keys for obtained. Guards all attacks and also 60% damage reduction. That is going to be the same for both of the characters right here. Launches an additional guaranteed 18 key super for Vegeta right here. For going back to Gogeta, he launches 2 additional 18 key supers, which again, they massively raise his attack and defense, so that's going to be really dope right there. This is something that's important and unique to Gogeta, is that Gogeta is able to nullify negative effects. So what does that mean? Well, basically, you know, a lot of the content, a lot of the hard fights, there are super attacks that can seal you, that can stun you, that can maybe debuff you in some cases. There are situations where, you know, like for example, like the Jiren fight, like the Jiren phase and the Goku Tournament of Power fight, right, like the Red Zone stage. Jiren can lock a character in a certain situation, right? Lock a slot. And I've had it in situations where sometimes he will decide to lock Vegeta in slot 3. So what do? I go ahead and just fuse into Super Gogeta. That whole negative effect is nullified. Gogeta is no longer locked, and I can move him into slot 1 and handle business and protect everyone from there. And also, I mean, that alone is so important. I think I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I think this is going to be one of the most underrated parts of Super Gogeta's kit, because it's just 3 words. Nullifies negative effects. Compare that to damage reduction rate with a crazy number. Compare that to guard, which we've seen a lot. Compare that to a bunch of stat boosts and everything. I think this is one of those things about his kit that people are just going to look at it and be like, oh, hey, yeah, he does that too. But this is actually important, because this means that any sort of weird gimmick or crap that you see in like Red Zone stages or even some Formidable Foe stages, Gogeta is not going to have any of that. He says, I do not care about whatever gimmick you have. You beat me with damage or you don't beat me at all. And obviously, you know, Gogeta, he's not taking a lot of damage either, because the 60% damage reduction plus the guard, that alone is insane. So yeah, I mean, I really do love that part about Gogeta. You can see I'm kind of favoring Gogeta a bit more, but this part, I think I really want to harp on this, because this is a very important thing. Performs a guaranteed crit and also gives successors infusion allies attack and defensive support. For Vegito, he's giving the same type of support for protecting heroes of Potara category allies, but you know, notice, you know, he's not boosting, he doesn't have a guaranteed crit, and also he doesn't have that nullifying negative effect. So that's the difference right there with the basic effects. For every attack performed though, Vegito is boosting his crit chance by 20% up to 100%, so that is a very easy thing to do, basically 5 attacks, which we will see that can happen very, very fast. Now, you know, compare that to Gogeta, right? When attacking, he's only boosting his attack by 100%. So I would say comparing the two, to be fair, Vegito at the when it comes to one attack, like the one attacking portion, Vegito is kind of playing a bit of catch up, if you will, where he's trying to boost his crit chance to catch up with the fact that Gogeta has the guaranteed crit. But at the same time, you know, we'll see that that is not what makes Vegito so good. And you already know what makes Vegito so good. It is the counters. But I think both units already have so many great things to offer. The stat boost is really good, by the way, so we love that. When receiving an attack, Gogeta is able to boost his defense by 100%. If we go back here, there is no such thing for Vegito, but we see the counters right here. We'll talk about that in just a moment. For every attack he's receiving, though, he's boosting his attack by 10% within the turn. So remember, this is very similar to a character like the 9th anniversary Beast Gohan, where you remember, Beast Gohan boosts his attack percentage within a turn for every attack he receives before he does his supers, right? And then he also does it for the attacks he receives after, but you don't see the benefit of those necessarily necessarily. For Vegito, every attack is boosting his attack by 10%, and you will see the benefit of it every single time in just a moment, right? But yeah, comparing the two, I think I like the defensive support slightly, but to be fair, at this point in time, you really don't need the defensive support, you know, or the defensive stat boost and everything, because both of these characters are so strong, so tanky right now, that really, Super Vegito boosting his attack, that is probably the better thing of the two at this point in time. I think down the line, we will see that the defensive boost is probably more important, but for right now, Super Vegito is doing his thing. So that's really good. For Vegito, now we get to the unique part, right? So when receiving a normal, right? No supers, just normal attacks, and also AoE normals, that counts too. Counters with ferocious power, and for 4 turns from the character's entry, foresees enemy super. So 4 turn scouter when he's fused and everything. For Gogeta, he also has the 4 turn scouter right here, but also for every rainbow key sphere he's obtaining, he's boosting his attack by 50%, and also damage reduction rate increases by 5%. So a bit of a difference right there. For Gogeta, he's more so oriented on the defensive side of things, it would seem, with the damage reduction rate and everything, and the boosting the defense. For Vegito, he's more so focused on the offense, right? Countering all the attacks, boosting his attack within the turn, those sorts of things. So I know a lot of people like to favor Super Vegito because when you look at what Super Vegito can do with the counters and everything, this guy is doing so much damage to pretty much every boss in the game. I have not seen any sort of boss that just tanks Super Vegito and just like shakes it off like it's nothing. Like the only times where I've seen Super Vegito do damage and it's not to my liking is where it's like frame 1 turn 5 fusion, he has not gotten the ability to stack attack and everything, and then he's facing a type disadvantage type of opponent, because then I mean that is where I've seen Vegito not do as much damage as I would like, because mine's like 55%, but you know, still, he's doing a lot of work in a lot of situations, so that cannot be understated. Now, we still have the active skill, so this is where I think a lot of people probably really kind of key in on Super Vegito more than Super Gogeta, but both have insane actives, right? So both can be activated upon entering the attacking turn, so right away. For Vegito, he causes ultimate damage to the enemy, boosts the defense by 300%, and also directs enemies' attacks towards himself. All attacks become guaranteed crits for 1 turn. So what does this mean? Basically, he's boosting his defense, he's doing a lot of damage, and also he's getting a taunt. And he has built-in crits for everything he does, which includes the counters, which includes his supers, so he's doing a lot of work. And also bear in mind, you can do this on the first turn, and then within that turn, all the attacks are guaranteed crits anyways, but you know, every time he's doing an attack regardless, he's still boosting his crit chance, so the first turn is guaranteed crits, the next turn after that, when he shows up again, he will have guaranteed crits once again. So yeah, I mean, Vegito is insane, and the taunt makes it so that every attack goes his way, which means that, you know, he is able to just do a bunch of counters, do a bunch of damage, and honestly just clear bosses. Like, it's crazy what he can do damage output. I think they even said it in the whole kind of stream for the pre-stream and everything for part 2, but they even said that while Vegito is focused more so on the offensive capabilities and just being an overall, like, offensive beast and powerhouse, Gogeta is more so focused on the quote-unquote defensive ability and the utility kind of aspect, right? Because when we look at his active skill, he's also causing ultimate damage. He's giving all allies attack and defense plus 54%, and also attacks are effective against all types for 1 turn other than himself, and then also changes AGL key spheres to rainbow key spheres, which is great because he's able to boost his attack and damage reduction rate per rainbow key sphere obtained, and also boost his key. So, you know, when it comes to these two characters, they have different kinds of focuses, as you can tell, but both are really, really insane. Now, obviously, I mean, a lot of people say it, the two of them combined make the best rotation in the game, period. Like, there is no two ways around it, because, you know, you have Vegito getting the taunt and everything, countering every single attack thrown his way, pretty much, and then you have Gogeta with the active, providing a bit of good support right there, and then, you know, between the two of them, I mean, they're just linking up so well with each other, so honestly, you can't go wrong with that sort of rotation. But yeah, it is just so crazy. If you ask me, I think right now, I myself, along with a lot of people, would probably prefer the Super Vegito part of the kit, especially with the taunt and everything. I think a lot of people would like that more, just because, I mean, the counters are so important right now. The damage, like, he is tanking everything pretty much regardless, but the counters make a lot of difference. Whereas, you know, with like Super Gogeta being able to provide support, that is really awesome, not just for like himself and everything, but also the other allies, right? But I think his utility is also really good too. So it's like a back and forth. It's kind of tough to say which I like more. Me personally, if I have to let the biases in here and say like which character I like more and which animations I like more and everything like that, give me Super Gogeta. But if I'm being unbiased, I think it's like a back and forth, and I think it's fair to say that Super Vegito right now is a bit of a better fusion because of the damage output. But also, let me explain a bit of a flaw that some people don't necessarily consider when it comes to Super Vegito, but it is a true situation, and also, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it does happen sometimes more than I would like. So The thing about Vegito, which is the same about any taunt, is that they're directing all of the attacks towards them. So that includes normals, that includes supers, right? The only thing that doesn't get directed towards them is technically AoE attacks, right? So that one's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. But these supers also get directed towards taunt characters. Now, there are some fights in the game where like the super attack effect, especially if it comes before Vegito does his attacks, right? That can either seal him or stun him. Now, if it's a seal, what will happen is Super Vegito cannot do his supers. So he'll be able to do the counters, but he won't be able to boost his attacks with his super attack effect. So that means he's missing out on a bit of damage, which does suck. And if it's a stun, that is even worse, because that means that means Vegito with his taunt is not going to be able to do a single counter, a single super, and he doesn't have any sort of nullifying negative effects like Gogeta, so he is susceptible to those type of things. And I mean, that is what makes it really frustrating. So those things are annoying. He also is technically susceptible, I suppose, to things like, you know, character switching, locking, and everything like that. So, you know, those things have to be paid attention to. But still, the taunt is very good. Everyone understands that a taunt is so clutch as a defensive utility for your team and everything, so no one's going to argue against that. His defensive stats are so insane, but to be fair, I don't know if necessarily either of the characters need to worry about their defensive stats, because both of them are so strong right now. I think down the line, maybe we'll see that defensive stat become more important once, like, the meta shifts happen, but both of them are so insane. Let's go ahead and talk about these categories before we go ahead and like kind of wrap things up here though. So when it comes to the Super Vegeta, right? Teq Vegeta right here. So we see they're on Earth Protecting Heroes, Fused Fighters, Pure Saiyans, Earth Fighters, Potara, Majin Buu Saga, which is really good with them, of course, you know, Goku's Family, Super Saiyans, Turtle School, Bond of Friendship, Accelerated Battle, Kamehameha, Bond of Parent and Child, Resurrected Warriors because of Vegeta right there, Vegeta's Family, Worthy Rivals, Otherworld Warriors, Final Trump Card, Battle of Wits, Gifted Warriors, Time Limit, Mastered Evolution, and Successors. So this is actually an interesting thing. I didn't even really think about this, but time limit, usually, like, if we go to this category here, you don't often see a Potara fusion, right? Like, the only time you see time limit for Potara fusion is the Vegito Blue unit, right? You don't often see the Super Vegito unit have this sort of time limit. But I'm not sure why they decided to give this to this character. Maybe it's because Vegeta is on a time limit where he was only brought back for, like, 24 hours, right? Like, with Baba and everything. Maybe that's what they justified it for. Maybe it's because they're deciding to change it up and give Super Vegito's time limit, which it doesn't seem like that's the case. But also, they maybe are just giving it because, you know, Vegito is only for four turns, so it could be that. I'm of the assumption that the time limit part of this unit is only because Vegeta is here, and he was only here for 24 hours with Baba, so I think that's where they're kind of giving it. But when we look at these categories, right, like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22, 23, this is a very good set of categories, and a lot of versatile categories as well. So this character is going to be fantastic, and the same can be said for Super Gogeta, right? Because when we look at these categories, right, you know, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20, I already lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 21, 22 categories. So when we compare the two, Vegito is on one more category, so that is a bit of a categorical diversity advantage for Super Vegito. But also, when we look at Gogeta's categories, Successors, Fused Fighters, Pure Saiyans, Gifted Wars, Fusion, Movie Heroes, which is something that Vegito is not going to be part of, Vegeta's Family, Super Saiyans, Worthy Rivals, Otherworld Warriors, Mastered Evolution, Bond of Parent and Child, Goku's Family, Final Trump Card, Connected Hope, which I believe is something different from Super Vegito, so there's that difference right there. Turtle School, Powerful Comeback, Time Limit, Bond of Friendship, Accelerated Battle, Earth Fighters, and Earth Protecting Heroes. So yeah, a lot of good stuff. Obviously, I think the biggest thing that kind of changes the two characters is that, like, Gogeta is not a part of Resurrected Warriors, whereas Vegito is. Vegito's on Majin Buu Saga, whereas Gogeta is not. You know, Gogeta's on Movie Heroes, where Vegito isn't. So there is a slight bit of differences between the categories, but, you know, both are so categorically diverse. But obviously, when it comes to saying who is the more categorically, like, who's the better diverse category type of character, geez, I can't talk. When it comes to talking about that, though, Vegito does take the slight edge because he has one more category that he can fit on compared to Super Gogeta. So I'll give that credit where credit is due. And yeah, I mean, that is basically like the characters right there. By the way, when we look at the linking, like, let's just look at the linking for the two characters. Obviously, they link really well with each other. But also, I guess Super Gogeta, he links even better with the 9th anniversary Gogeta, so that's something that should be mentioned. And then, I mean, we keep going, you know, they work with a lot of great characters right now, but yeah, the linking, I think, is like the least important thing about these characters for me. For me, the bigger things are the categories that they fit into, the passive skills, the actives, the fusions, how powerful they are, all those other sorts of things. So yeah, I mean, there you go. And yeah, there you go. That's how we compare these two characters. So let's go ahead and just kind of recap here. So when it comes to the leader skill, I personally like Earth Protecting Heroes more than Successors. However, I want to see in-game how the 7th year EZAs look, because I think Gogeta may have a better overall perfect leader skill, because when we look at his leader skill, right, he's covering those fusions, he's covering a character like, for example, you know, the Friezas and everything, full power Frieza, so he's covering those characters. I think maybe there's a good chance that most likely Super Vegeta will still have the better lead, so I'll give the edge to him because he still covers Beast Gohan, you know, Carnival Gohan, Super Saiyan 2, and even like GT Goku and everything with the 200%, so I think, you know, in that sort of regard, I like the Super Vegeta lead more. When it comes to the Goku form versus the Vegeta form, right, so like the base form, I like Teq Goku more in slot 2 and slot 3 to begin a fight. I like Vegeta more once we get after this whole kind of base turn kind of mechanic, because then it comes down to just what they can do, and I like Vegeta more in that sort of regard. When we go into the exchange into Goku for the AGL unit and Vegeta for the Teq unit, I would say I like Goku a hell of a lot more than I like Vegeta. Vegeta can do his thing, but, you know, for me, it's just frustrating that a character like him who's built to tank is still taking a lot of damage, whereas Goku, you can say that he can tank a bit, but also he's meant more so to dodge and everything, and I think dodging is going to age a lot better. And also, I mean, in slot 1 especially, like, he has just got so much dodge versatility, his guard and everything, he's got defensive boost, so I think in all those things considered, I like Goku more in that sort of regard. When it comes to the failed fusions, give me Veku all day, every day, 24/7, 25/8, whatever the time periods are, I do not care. Give me Veku more than the Potara break, because the Potara break, I have still not found a reason to make this usable. So for me, I prefer Veku, no questions about it. When it comes to the fusions, I mean, yeah, Gogeta and Vegito are 1A, 1B. It's really hard to argue which is better, and at that point, I mean, I'm gonna say it right now, anyone who says that one of these fusions is clear-cut better than the other is trying to allow some sort of bias in my opinion, or they specifically value a certain thing more than anything else, and they do not care about whatever, like, anything else in that regard. Like, I've seen some people say that Gogeta is better, and the reasons why they say it are pretty much just, hey, I like the support, and I like the nullification and all the AT&T supers, that's it. And some people I've seen say Super Vegito is clear-cut better, and the reason why they say that is because they like the taunt, they like the counters, GG's, no question, no comparison, whatever. So, I mean, yeah, there's things like that, but for me, I think they're 1A, 1B. I think Vegito right now is the better unit, just by a hair, but Gogeta is right there with him, and I think, like, as we progress through, like, the years and the months and everything, I think there is a very, very good chance that Gogeta will end up being the better unit, because he's going to be a battery for other characters with the support. He's still going to be able to nullify negative effects for himself, so he can save himself if he's locked in a bad turn. Maybe he'll just be able to provide a lot of damage reduction and everything, you know, the scouter, so I think it's a nip and tuck. I still like Vegito more just a bit right now, but I think Gogeta will be better down the line. So there you go. That's how we're going to wrap things up here. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Who do you think is the better 10th anniversary fusion? Again, I think they're 1A, 1B, but it is a tough comparison for sure, because they're both very similar to each other, and yet at the same time, you can tell they feel different from each other, especially when you go into the fusion. So it's a tough kind of conversation for sure. But that's going to be where we wrap things up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, again, you know, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, show your support. Again, comment down below your thoughts on the 10th anniversary fusions. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.